Here's something that might surprise you. 94% of people have experienced the sudden urge to do something completely destructive or inappropriate, even though they'd never actually do it. These intrusive thoughts are part of being human, but we rarely talk about them.
That's such a fascinating statistic. And what's really interesting is how universal these experiences are, regardless of culture, religion, or background.
Well, let me tell you about something that happened to me recently. I was standing at the top of my stairs, and my brain just went, "Hey, what if you did a cartwheel down these?" And for a moment, I was honestly horrified at myself.
Oh my goodness, that's actually a perfect example of what scientists call intrusive thoughts. And you know what's fascinating? They've done brain scans that show exactly what happens in our minds during these moments.
Hmm, tell me more about that, because understanding the science behind it might help make it less scary for people.
So basically, when these thoughts hit, your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, goes into overdrive, while the part that usually helps you stay calm gets overwhelmed. It's like having an overactive smoke detector, but a broken sprinkler system.
That explains so much. And speaking of weird brain moments, we need to talk about this phenomenon called the call of the void, l'appel du vide, in French. It's that bizarre urge you get when you're standing somewhere high up to just jump.
You know what's really interesting about that? Research from Florida State showed that people who experience these thoughts actually tend to have stronger self preservation instincts.
Right? It's like your brain running a weird safety diagnostic. And this connects to something fascinating called ironic process theory. There was this Harvard study where they told people not to think about white bears.
Let me guess, they couldn't stop thinking about white bears?
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting for people with OCD. Dr. David Clark's research showed that it's not the thoughts themselves that cause problems, it's how people interpret them.
Well, that makes so much sense when you think about it. It's like the difference between seeing a pop up ad and thinking it's trying to hack your computer.
Um, and here's where culture plays such a huge role. That Oxford study in 2021 found that people with rigid moral frameworks experienced way more distress from these thoughts, even though they weren't having them more frequently than anyone else.
That finding really highlights how our interpretation can cause more suffering than the actual thoughts themselves, doesn't it?
Absolutely right. And this is where modern therapy approaches become so valuable. Instead of trying to fight these thoughts, they teach you to create this kind of observational distance. It's like watching clouds pass in the sky.
And didn't some neuroscience research show that mindfulness actually helps strengthen the connection between different parts of our brain?
Yes, they found that mindfulness practices increase connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, like installing better communication lines between your fear center and your logical thinking center. And here's something else fascinating. Sometimes these intrusive thoughts actually reveal our deepest values.
How so? That seems counterintuitive given how disturbing these thoughts can be.
Well, think about it. If you have an intrusive thought about hurting someone and it horrifies you, that horror actually proves how much you value not hurting people. The very fact that the thought upsets you is evidence of your true character.
You know, that's such a compassionate way to look at it. It's like these thoughts are actually highlighting our moral compass rather than challenging it.
Exactly. And some researchers suggest these thoughts might serve an evolutionary purpose, like mental fire drills helping us stay alert to potential dangers without actually putting us in danger.
So, in a way, our brains are just being overprotective, even if they're being a bit dramatic about it.
That's right. So, next time we're chopping vegetables and our brain suggests a horror movie plot, we can just say, "Thanks for looking out for me, brain, but I think we're good here." It's about acknowledging the thought without giving it power over us.
And remembering that having these thoughts doesn't make us bad people. If anything, our reaction to them shows just how much we care about doing the right thing.
You know what? Maybe that's the real takeaway here. Our brains aren't broken when they have these thoughts. They're just incredibly enthusiastic storytellers that sometimes need to be reminded which stories are helpful and which ones we can just file away in the thanks but no thanks folder.